Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the film from 2016, Hush. Without any further, let's get started. The film opens with an image of a small home hidden away in the forest. Inside, a person is preparing dinner, tossing asparagus into a pan, and keeping an eye on the rice and lamb ribs baking in the oven. After reading the directions on how to make the sauce, Maddie gives it a try and ends up really not like it. When her neighbor sends her a message requesting to visit, she responds in the yes. After connecting the laptop to the charger, Maddie uses her phone to carry on her talk with her neighbor. When dinner time arrives, she calls her cat in and feeds her. As her neighbor approaches the house, Maddie rushes to say hello. Right away, Sarah informs Maddie that she read her book and tries to communicate with her through sign language because Maddie is deaf. Though Maddie is a lip reader, Sarah is insistent that she allow her to practice signing with her. When Maddie asks her opinion of the book, she responds that she really enjoyed it. She even attempted to predict the finish but failed poorly. Maddie explains to her that she has a writer's brain, which enables her to imagine a multitude of possible outcomes, each of which plays out like a movie in her head. She has trouble getting the voices in her head to stop. When Sarah asks about the sound of her inner voice, Maddie responds that it sounds like her mother. What? Suddenly, the home's fire alarm goes off. They rush inside, where Maddie silences the alarm while Sarah removes the lamp from the oven and her cat escapes. While Sarah complains that the alarm is too loud, Maddie explains that it must be quite loud in order for her to feel the vibrations while she sleeps. Later, when they chat about her cat while sitting on her porch, Maddie assures Sarah that she shouldn't worry because her cat is very independent. Sarah's lunch got spoiled, so she begs her to come over so she can order some food, but she says she has work to do. She practices the new signs Sarah taught her before she leaves.
Bitch.
After she leaves, Maddie receives a message from Craig expressing his thoughts for her, but she chooses to delete it. That night, Maddie is working on her new manuscript on her computer while eating dinner. She considers possible book endings, but is unable to determine which would be the greatest.
The rage bubbled up. Not working.
After reaching a roadblock with her writing, Maddie decides to FaceTime Craig. However, she ends the call before any connection is made. He tries repeatedly to call her, but she never answers on her phone or laptop. After making a mess in the kitchen while making dinner, Maddie heads to tidy up. Sarah is immediately in a panic and begins pounding on the door, hoping Maddie would see her. However, she was killed by a man wearing a mask and dies in front of her window. The murderer watches through the window and taps on it to check if Maddie will hear him, but she doesn't notice anything. Realizing that she is not hearing anything, he moves the body aside. Maddie is being called by Craig repeatedly, but she refuses to answer. She attempts to write once again, but her performance is not significantly improved. While all of this is going on, the murderer sneaks into her home and approaches her. She chuckles at her writer's block and is totally unaware of his presence. The murderer abruptly moves away from the camera when she receives a FaceTime call from her sister. They briefly discuss her book before Maddie informs her about Craig. Her sister encourages her to rejoin the dating scene, but she isn't interested in doing so. Then, in an attempt to get Maddie to quit living alone, she invites her to return to the city and live with her. Her sister witnesses the murderer taking her phone from the counter as it's captured on camera.
Behind you. Thought I saw something.
Maddie believes it's most likely her cat, but that she is go look for her, and they part ways. Next, she uses the sound of the food in her bowl to call her cat. She doesn't answer her calls, and the cat isn't upstairs either, while Maddie keeps searching the home for her. When the cat doesn't come to Maddie, she opens the door, calls for her once more, and then settles down to write once more. Unexpectedly, she receives a picture message on her phone. The photos are of her searching for the cat at the precise moment she views them on her computer. Maddie is terrified and approaches the door carefully. When she notices the murderer waiting for her on her porch and reveals that he has her phone, she panics and dashes to seal the door in time. The murderer repeatedly attempts to enter her home through all of the doors, but eventually gives up and walks around to the opposite side of the house, nearly entering. When Maddie uses her computer to dial 911, he cuts the power. She is attempting to log into Sarah's network, but she is unsure of the password. He makes an attempt to trick her before leaving. When Maddie gets to the door, he has already cut the tires on her car and is hiding in the forest. After writing a note on the door's glass and flashing a spotlight on it, the murderer removes his mask after reading the message. When he asks if she can read his lips, she nods in response. The man informs her that he is aware of her single status and that no partner is on the way.
So alone, Squish.
Then he informs her that although he is free to enter the house at any time, he won't come for her until she expresses a desire to die. She gives a nod of understanding. He tells her they can have fun before turning to go. After getting a knife and hammer in her kitchen, Maddie returns to the living room to examine it. Later, she enters her bedroom, locks the door, and closes the curtains. Maddie glances out the window, but she doesn't catch a glimpse of him. Abruptly, a shadow appears on her window. He taps on it, and she witnesses him doing so through the shadows on the floor. Checking it out, Maddie realizes that he's using Sarah's body to bang on her window. She drops her weapons and retreats to the living room, where she cries. Suddenly she recalls Sarah placing her phone in her back pocket. She pulls out her car keys and tries to set off the alarm. She tries to activate it through the window but is unable to do so, so she hurriedly unlocks the door and does it. When the man hears it and she spots him approaching the car, Maddie rushes back to her room to search her pockets for Sarah's phone. However, he returns. She goes back inside, and she slams the window shut on his fingers. She snatches her knife and stabs him in an instant. Because he is bleeding, the man tears off some of Sarah's shirt and wraps it over his arm. He knows that she was trying to find her phone. After demonstrating to her that he has it, he then leaves it on the body. As she makes her way back to the living room, he tries to open the window once more. Shortly afterward, Maddie notices him going outside and ducks for cover. He peeks through the glass door, losing her, but he discovers where she is hiding. After opening the door, she walks from the house, and when she sees him, she hides. She feels for the vibrations from his footsteps on the wooden floor as he passes straight by her and hides beneath the porch. Once more, the man surrounds the house, luring her to come out of hiding. He fires his crossbow a few times at her as she flees, but he keeps missing. When she returns home, she shuts the door once more. When Maddie notices he's at the front door, she climbs to the second level and watches him from there. She opens a window and climbs out on the back of the house. Since he is at the front of the house, Maddie takes extra caution to stay silent. To divert his attention, she tosses her lighted flashlight into the woods. When the man follows the flashlight, she descends off the roof. After he shoots her and climbs to check if he succeeded in getting her, she removes the arrow from her leg in the meantime, and when he gets to the roof, she knocks him aside and seizes his crossbow. He has time to climb after Maddie because she doesn't know how to load it. Before he reaches the window, she escapes back inside the house. After scaring him away with the crossbow, Maddie goes to her bathroom to tend to her injuries. To further the bleeding, Maddie pours alcohol on it and wraps her leg. As she searches for a solution while crying in the bathroom, she picks up the crossbow and notices markings on it. Maddie tries to load the weapon, but she is unable to get the pulled bow into the mechanism. She gives it another go, but this time the man can see her through the window of the bathroom. Unexpectedly, a different man knocks on Maddie's front door in search of Sarah. The murderer hears him, but Maddie doesn't. John, the man, is Sarah's boyfriend. He wants to call the police after reading the note on the door, but the killer shows up dressed like a police officer. He orders him to put down the phone, but John assures him that it is not a weapon and expresses his desire to avoid conflict. He must get down on his knees and present his ID to the murderer, orders him. John replies he will put his phone down and retrieve his ID from his wallet. The man snatches the wallet from him when he pulls it out. After checking his ID, the killer asks if he lives next door. When John nods, the man says he's sorry for frightening him. He tells him an untruth, saying that he found the location in that way and answered a call. When he got there, someone was inside the house and had run past him, knocking him unconscious. He claims the intruder had also taken his radio and a pistol and that he is to notify the sheriff. John starts to wonder whether he's a police officer, so he clarifies that he's a deputy and that he's just starting off. When the man requests to use John's phone, John provides it to him and makes a phone call to his station for John's benefit.
See you soon.
But he puts his phone in his pocket after finishing and refuses to give it back to him. When they discuss Maddie, John informs him that she largely keeps to herself. He questions the man about his wounded arm after noticing it, so he tells a falsehood that the man who jumped him was the one who caused it.
Actually, like a jock.
When he hands John his phone back, he notices that Sarah's earring has fallen out of his pocket. He begins questioning the man to see if he can catch him telling a falsehood, but the man avoids all of them. In the meantime, Maddie continues to attempt drawing the bell, but she is unable to do so. When John is still attempting to identify the man, he is certain that he is not a police officer. John informs him that Maddie has a key stashed in a plant at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah, no, it's right down there on that.
When the man goes to investigate, he doesn't know he's planning anything because John picks up a rock and moves closer while continuing to talk. As soon as he has the opportunity to strike him in the head, Maddie begins to tap on the window and the man stabs him. Even though John pursues him, the man keeps running around him until he stumbles and falls. Watching it all happen, Maddie is thanked by the man for being there at the right time. John reaches over him, tackling him and grabbing him tightly. After giving Maddie the order to go by the back door, the man chases after her and fatally strikes her over the head with a rock. That was only the result of her escape acting out in Maddie's mind. She is still inside the house, thus her inner voice warns her that she cannot flee. John passes away before he can murder the man, and Maddie keeps thinking through all the possible endings. She questions whether she should shoot him or go outside to turn on the electricity again. She imagines hiding in the loft or the bathroom, among other places in the house.
Case scenario, he doesn't find you.
Regardless of what she decides, she has the option to bleed to death if he doesn't find her. She can conceal herself outside her house in the crawl area, but he is aware that she has already done so. She's running out of time because she's becoming cold, lightheaded, and her vision is becoming fuzzy. Her instinct tells her that he will always have the upper hand because she can't flee, hide, or wait.
Sooner or later, he is coming in.
Maddie has an insight that killing him is what she must do to rescue herself. As he searches through John's pockets and discovers a pack of smokes, the man walks over to Maddie's car and grabs the wrench. He sits down in the car, begins a cigarette, and says he'll head inside the house shortly, until she starts to lose more blood. Her cat arrives out of nowhere, crouching down next to her and when she wants to murder her. After Maddie shoots him with the crossbow, she flees inside, and he pursues her, breaking her hand by snagging it on the door. She shuts the door after he releases her hand. When the man breaks the arrow and approaches her, Maddie turns to face him and writes with her own blood on the glass, telling her to do it cowardly. He goes to the car to fetch the wrench, and Maddie notes his description in the laptop's open page. While he smashes the glass of her door, she writes a note to her parents. Maddie waits for him while hiding in the bathroom. At that point, she starts to lose consciousness and fails to see him entering through the window behind her. She senses the man's breath on her neck and spins to attack him, ducking his knife as she does so. She dashes from the bathroom into the kitchen, where he appears to be unconscious on the ground. He is about to kill her when she splatters wax propellant in his eyes. She snatches the fire alarm and sets it off, making him even more helpless until he drops the knife. When Maddie reaches for the knife, he shoves her to the ground and they starting to struggle with one another. The man began to strangle her. He nearly kills her when she gets to the wide opener and ends up killing him. She pulls her phone from his pocket and she calls 911. After that, he passed out as a result of what happened. Later on, Maddie leaves her home and sits on her porch with her cat curled up next to her. At last, the police show up on the scene. Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.